you so much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Greetings to everyone.
Greetings
good
to
morning,
you too, sir.
Good afternoon, good evening, depending from where you are. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. We also have Mr. Nanchang, who is Mr. Nanchang Nangwang, who is a lawyer and the principal partner of the law firm N. Nanchang and Co., a law firm based in Kaduna, Nigeria. He's a certified teacher, trainer, and facilitator. He's a faculty member and executive director of Settlement House ADR Training Institute, SHATI, an institute for the training, certification, and practice of alternative dispute resolution. He's a faculty member of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators. He is a certified dispute resolution specialist, an international mediation campus trained mediator and attorney mediator. An attorney mediator, I beg your pardon, a certified mediation advocate, an arbitrator, a certified negotiator, an ADR practitioner, a restorative justice practitioner, and a certified emotional intelligence specialist. He's a certified conflict manager, a certified ADR registrar secretary. He's a holder of Mediator Academy United Kingdom certificate in commercial mediation, accredited by the Institute of Chartered Arbitrators UK. He's a medical law enthusiast and an employment and labor law expert. Mr. Nanchang, it's our pleasure to have you on this call. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, it's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. I must appreciate Mr. Victor Baba for making it out here. We are very, very happy to have you here. I reached out to him because the meeting is happening in Kenya and he's on ground, and I feel that it will be good for him to have some inputs on what we are talking about today. More so, we are looking at career opportunities in alternative dispute resolution. And he has a lot to say or add, and we are very happy to have you here. We also have several others who have taken out time to be with us. I can see them. I don't have time to appreciate them all for being here. So, thank you. Please, can we proceed then?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Mr. Nanchang. So, for the benefit of the students who have joined this call and for the benefit of newbies and professionals alike, in few minutes, can you please tell us what ADR is? Mr. Victor, please.
Oh, thank you. Personally, I think ADR is a continuum of a wide array of strategies and mechanisms of solving disputes without litigation, without going to the streets, so on, so to speak. And so my definition is quite amorphous. It's a continuum. So we have different strategies of dispute resolution under ADR. If you happen to travel to UK, in the UK, they call it negotiated dispute resolution protocols. So at the heart and soul of ADR are strategies that revolve around the concept of negotiation. And therefore, negotiation is just one of the strategies of dispute resolution. Then we have arbitration, we have mediation, we have in the US, what they call early neutral evaluation. And the list goes on and on and on. So ADR in a nutshell is just a continuum. It's a compendium of protocols of resolving disputes around the concept of negotiation.
Okay, Mr. Victor, can you unmute, please?
Okay, thank you. I think I'm gonna start again.
Okay.
Thank you. So when I think of ADR, if I travel to the UK, ADR becomes NDR, negotiated dispute resolution. So you begin to realize that ADR or NDR, depending on where you are, it's a continuum of dispute resolution mechanisms or strategies without going to the courts or without going to the streets. Because what we have in our courts is primarily litigation. And what you have on our streets are demonstrations. And the language of our streets is power dominion. When strikes are happening, the language is that of power. You know, we comrade power and things of that sort. And when we go to courtrooms, the language is of rights and entitlement, so to speak. And when we begin to talk about ADR or NDR, at the heart and soul of these processes, because this is not just a one process, it's a wide array of processes that you have at your disposal if you are a disputant. And so here we are talking about negotiation. And what are we negotiating? We are negotiating interest of various disputants, so to speak. So when I think of ADR, I think of a process that is based on interest of the disputants without going to courts and the streets and so on and so to speak. And we have quite a number of processes. We have mediation, we have negotiation, and mediation here is just a third-party facilitated negotiation. In our everyday life, we get to negotiate on various things. If you are married, you get to negotiate with your husband on a wide array of things. I mean, if you are married, the fact that you are trying to talk to your spouse or your partner that, you know, today I want us to have a particular meal, that's negotiation, right? And mediation is just a third-party facilitated mediation. And then, of course, we have arbitration. And arbitration is a close sister to litigation. And then on top of that, we have processes like the office of an ombudsperson, which is a practice that seems to be gaining traction across the world. We are seeing corporates, we're seeing big organizations like the United Nations initiating the office of an ombudsperson. And at this point in time, I'd like maybe to draw our attention to a resolution that was passed at the end of last year by the United Nations General Assembly. And this is very important. It is very important because we are talking about careers. There's a resolution, let me try and just see on my screen. There's a resolution 77,600. Maybe before we rest at our chambers at some point, we might want to have a look at this resolution because it's very important. It's resolution 77,260. I'm just trying to, yes, and it's titled Administration of Justice at the United Nations. So this tells you that ADR is gaining traction across the globe. And what an endorsement, and it's a big endorsement to have organizations like the United Nations sort of endorse the significance and importance of ADR in the world today. So that's my simple synopsis of what ADR is. It's a wide array of processes I'm just trying to get hold of the document. Okay. I'm so sorry for my clumsiness. Okay, there we have the document. So if you happen to, oh, sorry.
Yes, you will make inputs as the meeting continues. So any further information, including questions, eventually after the presentation, we will get to discuss that together. So you can take a look at that while we proceed. Miriam. Okay, so Mariam, are we good to go? Mariam. Okay, so can you confirm if you can all hear me?
Can hear you,
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, good. So you can inform your friends to join the meeting as it is going on. And today, by God's grace, we are going to be looking at career opportunities in alternative dispute resolution. And Mr. Victor has graciously given us a definition of what alternative dispute resolution is, and depending on the context where it is being practiced, whether it is within here in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, or if it is the United Kingdom or any other country. So career opportunity, for some of us who are still students, I believe that we have students, we have workers, we have lawyers who are participating in this meeting, both online and presently here, and those who are following through our YouTube channel. Okay, Mr. Victor has graciously sent in what he was looking for, so you can check the chat, the chat box for that. So some of us are actually students, and some of us are workers. Some of us are professionals from different with different backgrounds. And one thing we want to establish is the fact that alternative dispute resolution is meant for everyone, everybody, every profession. It is not the exclusive of lawyers. And as such, we believe that lawyers, non-lawyers alike have a future and a career in alternative dispute resolution. Our main focus or our concentration will be on the lawyers, the law students in Kenya, in addition to other students who are over there in Kenya, in Nigeria, and all over the world, those who are watching us. Now, you see, because conflict exists everywhere, even at home, you and your siblings, for those who have siblings, you know that one way or the other conflict occurs. When your mother, for example, brought in something and she decides to share it, and somebody feels that, no, this should be shared equally. Another person feels, no, it cannot be shared equally, or that the first should pick first. And the last born will feel, I should pick first. I am the last. I'm the last born. Some of these things actually cause conflict in our society. So we believe that ADR is something that is for everybody. And so in the course of this meeting, we are going to be exploring, looking at various opportunities. We are going to be looking at unemployment. We are going to be looking at how people are looking for where to work. The reason why we have a lot of unemployment. We have lawyers who are called to the bar, but no job. They are still looking for how to fend for themselves, and a lot of things like that. And then for those who care and those who want to find a career in ADR, we're going to be looking at the various ways and means of things they can do to be able to create a career for themselves. Now, these problems we have in our society everywhere, they are begging for the need to be solved. And you see, by the time you train yourself or you make yourself someone who can provide solutions to people's needs, especially to conflicts, to disputes, which to my own mind, terrorize our society everywhere, you become someone that cannot be dispensed with, both in the administration of justice, when it comes to peace, when it comes to our society, when it comes to our schools, when it comes to our churches, our mosques, everywhere in our community. So since disputes are everywhere, conflicts are everywhere, they pose a problem that needs to be solved. So ADR actually allow parties to resolve their differences satisfactorily without the need or recourse to the courtrooms. Now you see, some people call it alternative dispute resolution. Some people call it appropriate dispute resolution. And I want to believe it because where a dispute occurs or happens, deep inside the heart of those disputants is the desire to find solution. But I don't need to mention some of the predicaments we have when we go to courts. For some of us who are into the active practice of law, you will discover that there are a lot of issues we have with the court system. You go to court, even the procedures alone that you need to follow are sufficient to actually cause a problem in the administration of justice. So with that, we believe that ADR provides a means through which disputants can easily resolve their disputes, amicably, and when that is done, you discover that the people involved are able to continue with their relationship. If they are business partners, for example, imagine a situation where a husband and a wife have an issue and they decide to go to the court. When you go to the court and then you come back home, will you still live in the same home? But you see, but with ADR, it gives you an opportunity to be able to get involved in the resolution of your dispute. So you see the disputants having a say, having something to say, having something to contribute. They are putting their heads together to find out a solution. What do we do in this situation? Nobody just come in and say, oh, for this thing you have done, you are entitled to so you are directed to pay so person so amount of money without any consideration as to whether you have the money to pay as at that time or not. But you see ADR, because it gives you an opportunity to discuss, to resolve, depending on the mechanism you are using, you can contribute, you can talk, you can choose the person who is going to take a decision for you if you so wish. You can decide to take someone or choose someone who is going to facilitate the discussion, and you can even do that yourself through negotiations. You see, that is one of the good things about ADR. And unlike the court system where you go, everything you put in there is open to the public. It's a public place. Everybody can go and apply for the certified true copy of the proceedings, and he gets it upon payment of a token. So that thing which you feel is your trade secret, for example, that thing which you think is your dirty laundry, for example, all of them will be out there. And funny enough, they will be published in law reports, So you see, that is, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just the best thing for us at the moment. So we have different ADR processes, which we are going to, we will eventually get to that. But you see, there is this popular quote by Garrett Brooks that says, the greatest conflicts are not between two people, but between one person and himself. You see, an individual has a conflict with himself, not to even talk of with a third party. So if you as a person will have a conflict with yourself, it therefore means that the tendency of having a conflict or a dispute with another person is inevitable. Now, for example, look at it. Here is someone who has some problems, some issues, possibly unemployment, as we've looked at, as we're going to be touching on some of the things. I've graduated from law school. I have a master's degree, or I am a graduate. I have a master's degree. I have a doctorate degree, and all sorts of things, qualifications. But those qualifications do not secure you a job. And then you see your families are calling you from home. They are expecting you as the firstborn to take care of your younger ones. And then they say, oh, he's a lawyer now. He has a lot of money. He has this and that. And then you are wondering, you are just battling, you are struggling, barely surviving, trying to get food or set food on your table. And then you see, oh, what do I do? You now see, because of this unresolved conflicts, I know you have heard of people who have taken their lives. They took their life because they have conflict within, they cannot resolve. That is a conflict within. That is just an example. Not to even talk of those that have run into a lot of problems. They go into smoking, drinking, doing a lot of things because they want something that will take away their sorrow. And then if that cannot help them, the option is to take away their lives. That is a conflict within that they cannot resolve. So, but if you look at the other side, if a human being has conflict with himself, then you can have conflict with your brother, with your sister, you can have conflict with people, all over, So when this conflict occurs, what do you do? What do you do? I go to the courtroom because I go to the courts, or I meet lawyers and the rest of them because I do not actually want, I don't want to take the laws into my hands. But you see, the process of investigation in Africa, is something else. When the matter eventually gets to the court, is another problem. So you see, we have disputes. Market women have their own disputes. Professionals have their own disputes. Different career, they have their own disputes. And we are saying that we have people, we have students who are trained and are being qualified and certified in all these areas, possibly as accountants, as medical doctors, as different sets of people. We have
Absolutely.
them.
So very quickly, Mr. Nanchang, we can feel your passion, we can feel the pulse. Indeed, there's no better time to have a conversation of this nature, because you can't have all that you need and at the same time you don't have what you need. Because talking about that, a typical law faculty or a typical law school doesn't emphasize on alternative dispute resolution as a mode of settling disputes. We get to see various courses, legal system, commercial law practice, property, all these things. But narrowing it down to what exactly it is, which is dispute resolution, is where I feel some of our institutions have been laid back in, stamping their feet to emphasize the extent or the need for some of getting the required skills for the purpose of being empowered to settle disputes as they come, just as you have enlisted, right? So I'll just go right into the question of the day, which is, what are the various career options that are available to a student, to a newbie? Because you find that some law students, once they leave law school, they don't even know what to do. They don't know how to go out, how to make use of the tools that they have gained for the past for the past 5 to 6 years. So they are caught in between. So what are the career options that a student, a new week, professionals alike can explore when it comes to ADR?
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Briefly, I just wanted to lay a little, give a context to what we are saying before we get into this. Now you see in our society, both in Nigeria and in Kenya, for example, we have situations where people who graduate from law school or lawyers are looking forward to being employed. Aside from the period of mentorship, for example, you see that when you finish your mentorship, a lot of people are looking for what to do. The law firms are not paying that much because they believe that you are actually learning at the moment. So you see that unemployment is high. Remember, we are addressing not just the lawyers per se, all other persons who may be interested in ADR. You see, our society, our government, are unable to satisfy our needs. They are unable to provide employment for us. So because of that, you see a lot of disturbing situations. You see a lot of problems. You see a lot of people looking for jobs here and there. And when they don't have jobs, the rate of crimes increases. In fact, disputes and conflict increase the more. So, and for example, when you look at Kenya, from what we have in the statistics, you see that the rate of unemployment is actually rising and is high. You have 5.75% unemployment rate, in terms of numbers, 21% underemployed. Then 46% are poor, and they are the ones that are working. So when you look at when you look at all of those things, a lot of people, including lawyers who are graduating from law school and are being certified and licensed to practice law, are actually unemployed. Now, what is the problem of, what are the causes of unemployment? We needed to address the mindset so that people will begin to see that I can do something with my qualification. I can do something with my life. Now, look at, when you graduate and you are licensed, not everybody who became a lawyer actually goes into the active practice of law as in litigation. There are other ways you can practice law. For Nigeria, for example, you are
I think we lost Mr. Nachang there. Well, while we wait for him to return, Mr. Victor, there's a myth that does the practice of ADR, I'm asking it in relation to maybe law students or lawyers. Does the practice of ADR diminish the quality of a lawyer? Because most people have a bias towards ADR. They feel that except you're practicing litigation, you're not doing the real thing. So let me have your thoughts. Let's have your thoughts on that, please. Does it diminish the quality of a lawyer or a practitioner, as it were?
I'm really happy that you call it a myth. Kindly, if you're not on record, put off your mute function. Mamosiri, could you intervene so that we have one person on the floor?
The board in your
okay. Sorry, can you all hear? Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you, sir.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay. So we have corruption in some of our countries. We have population
Mr.
explosion.
Nanchang, Mr. Nanchang, if you just please give us a minute. Mr. Victor was trying to take us through an explanation before you joined back the call. So very quickly, we'll get back to you.
Okay, okay.
Please.
I thank you, Madam Osiri, for your intervention. I like the terminology that you use. There's a myth that mediators are in lower rank compared to advocates, and that's not true. And my argument is this. You see, being a mediator adds value to who you are, and markets are value driven. If you go to advanced legal markets, you realize that consumers of justice are after value added services. So ordinarily, what consumers of justice are looking for is somebody who can be of value to them beyond litigation, which is mainstream. And I think the origin of that question is the fact that in the African markets, if you compare mediation or ADR and litigation, so many people hold litigation as a higher hanging fruit and ADR as a low hanging fruit. But that's not true. And these are sentiments that we can go as far as colonialism, because our systems of court are legacies of colonization. The reason why everyone wakes up one morning and they all want to run to the courts, it's because that's a system that was introduced to us by our colonial powers. So there's an element of colonization that is tied to it. And then, of course, we have an element of misconception. Not so many individuals or consumers of justice are fully aware of this animal called ADR. That's why we have all these myths that you speak of. But truth be told, being a mediator or being an ADR practitioner adds value to you as a human being. So it's not true that mediators are lower in rank compared to advocates. That would be my view.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. You heard it. The mediators are not any lesser than advocates. We're trying to build an ecosystem of solution, of value, rather than just what we have learned or taken from the colonialists. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor, for that contribution. Mr. Nanchang, may we have your thoughts, please, on the career opportunities in ADR? Thank you.
So as I was saying initially, those career opportunities are actually based on the fact that, you know, some of the factors that I was mentioning before that contribute a lot to some of the problems that we face in our society, you know. And so I have mentioned some of the courses. I'm going to look at some of the career opportunities shortly. So, but then I need to emphasize something before I go there. This lack of entrepreneurial skills. It is one thing for you to have what it takes to make money. It is one thing to venture into that particular thing. So when you have a lot of issues as to, I don't have anything to do, government is not providing employment, lawyers are not finding some things to do that will earn them resources and maybe money and the rest of them. These can be some of the things that can be attributed to that. So when a lawyer, for example, or someone who has graduated takes a look at some of these things, what can I do with the skills I've acquired through my learning in the university, through my certification? What can I do? So when you look at those factors, now we have different ADR mechanisms, and these mechanisms also serve as some of the areas where lawyers and non-lawyers alike can create a career path for themselves. Now, you see, in the ADR mechanisms, we have negotiation, you have mediation, you have conciliation, you have arbitration, and then you have some hybrid processes. You also have court-referred ADR. Some courts will refer some matters to ADR. So simply put, negotiations usually take place between the parties who are involved in the disputes. And then when the parties negotiate and then possibly they are unable to resolve their issue, they can now get the assistance of a third party neutral who is referred to as a mediator. And so, as Victor will say, mediation is an assisted negotiation, So you have negotiation itself, you have mediation, you have arbitration, you have conciliation, and then these are the major. You have hybrids, you can have negotiation, mediation, you can have med-up, you have app-med, and some of those other early neutral evaluation. All of those things are ADR processes which have, their own impact or their own function or uses, in the ADR system. So, but where a dispute occur, it is usually good for someone for parties to engage themselves in an attempt to see if they can resolve the matters by themselves. But where negotiation fails, since it involves the party, there is you as a person can get trained as a negotiator who can go and represent your clients, for example, and that practice, we call it mediation advocacy. We are going to take a look at that shortly. But then after that, if the parties themselves are unable to resolve, you now get to appoint someone you can trust, someone who is going to be a neutral third party, standing in the middle, trying to help the two disputing parties arrive at the settlement that is acceptable to both of them. And you see, they contribute, they appoint the mediator, they decide the time within which they want that thing to be done. They are the one that decide the solution. They decide whatsoever the outcome of the of the dispute is. That is their contribution. Now, where mediation fails, because you can decide to have arbitration on the other one, and the other hand is also a third party who is appointed. But in this time, in this instance, the third party appointed the third party appointed a person in this case has the power to take decision or make decision that binds the parties. Unlike a mediator who do not make decisions and he does not make suggestion as to the solution for the problem, a mediator on the other side actually takes decision for the party, and that decision is called an award. And that award is something that is enforceable both within and outside the country where that award is being delivered. For example, an award delivered here, depending on whether the country has ratified some of the conventions that are regulating the enforcement of arbitration award, the arbitrator gives an award here in Nigeria. You can register an award outside of Nigeria. You can register it outside of Kenya. You can register it in another state, either in Kenya or Nigeria, for the purpose of enforcement. So you can see they are all ADR mechanisms but all of them have their flaws. Well, some involve the parties themselves directly discussing how to resolve their matter. Another one needs the assistance of a third party who will help them resolve their dispute without interfering or making suggestions as to the solution, or giving a decision or a verdict or acting as a judge. While arbitration, on the other hand, is more or less, will I say, litigation without the weekend gowns, without some of the technicalities that follow litigation. So you can see the process is faster, and then the parties can decide, resolve our dispute within 25, maybe 2-3 days or 1 week or 2 weeks. You see, they have a say and a contribution to what whatsoever outcome they want, and you can see all of those things. So these are some of the mechanisms that parties can actually explore when they have problems or their issues. So now, the slide before this. Now, you see, ADR is open to everyone, whether you are a lawyer or a non-lawyer alike. Next. If, for example, you want to find a career, you want to start a career in ADR, you have there are diverse areas in which you may decide to concentrate. You can, for example, because you can be a negotiator. A negotiator, as I explained, is a person, who can be contacted and say, oh, I have a problem with so person. Can you approach the other party on our behalf? Unlike a mediator is a neutral third party. It does not descend into the arena of the dispute. But you see, that is similar to what we refer to as a mediation advocate. A mediation advocate or an advisor. Now, quickly, a mediation advocate is more like a negotiator, if I may say. A mediation advocate is a party who has been trained and has acquired the skills in alternative dispute resolution, be it mediation, negotiation, or whatsoever. But you see, a mediation advocate or advisor actually takes sides, unlike a mediator. He is contacted for the purpose of helping his own client resolve a dispute. So he goes to the other party having his client's interest at heart. So, but if you are a lawyer, you are trained to become a mediation advocate, but if you are a non-lawyer, you are trained to become a mediation advisor. They do the same thing, they do the same work. The only difference is that one is a lawyer who is trained to become a mediation advocate, while the other person is a non-lawyer who is trained to become a mediation advisor. So you can decide to choose a career and say, oh, I want to become a mediation advocate if you are a lawyer, or I want to become a mediation advisor. Another thing you can decide to do is, I want to become a mediator. A mediator, you see, a mediator is a third party who is appointed by the parties in disputes. Very important. So your appointment to resolve dispute will be based on possibly how the, either if it is institutional mediation, maybe if it's a mediation under an institute, they have their own rules and regulations, like Settlement House, for example, they have an ADR center. And if you decide to bring your disputes for mediation in that particular center, it becomes institutional mediation. And then if it is an institution, that institution has its own rules and regulations that guides the proceedings and the appointment of arbitrators. And most times they have a list of neutrals, that's mediators, which parties are allowed to choose based on their qualification and their area of expertise to say, oh, this is a construction dispute, and we have someone who is an expert in construction and he is a mediator. We want such a person, So you can have one mediator in a session, or you can have 2 or 3, depending on rare occasions, or depending on the nature of the disputes. You can have such persons. So if you are a mediator, your appointment is based on your goodwill and how people get to know you and your expertise in the field, your knowledge of the subject matter, and the trust that people will have on you. Now, on the third aspect you will also look at as a career, if you so wish, is to be an arbitrator. An arbitrator is also a third party. It's also appointed by the parties, depending on whether it is institutional or ad hoc kind of either arbitration or mediation. If it is an institution, they have their own list of mediators. You can decide to, after your training, become a listed neutral or a listed arbitrator in some of the ADR organizations, and you can be appointed. Upon your appointment, you are given the power to be able to decide issues and matters on behalf of those who appoint you. So they are going to give you the authority. They are going to confirm the authority they've given you to help them resolve that dispute. In this case, you are not a neutral third party. You are just standing, you are there, you listen to the parties, present their arguments and their case, and then you will have to take a decision one way or the other. That is for an arbitrator. You can also be a conciliator. A conciliator and a mediator, they are almost similar, but in this case, you see, a conciliator gives can make suggestions. For example, there are certain situations you find yourself that you cannot actually give a decision that is binding on part.
Okay. I think we lost Mr. Nanchang there again. So before he comes back, let's just take
for example, in marital.
Go on, Mr. Nanchang, please. Okay. Mr. Victor, before Mr. Nanchang returns, can we get your thoughts on what approach students or practitioners should adopt in the area of self-development to boost their relevance in the practice of ADR? Shortly before Mr. Nanchang returns.
Okay, okay, please, can you hear me now?
Okay, you're back now. Okay, we can hear you.
Yes, so we're talking about career opportunities. You can decide to be a human resource manager. Of course, you see, the trainings and skills in ADR are actually wonderful, because they equip you to become a human resource manager, a human resource personnel. You can decide to, if you are not a legal practitioner and you are not into the prominent dispute resolution areas that we are all aware of, you work in an organization, you manage people, you take care of people. A lot of litigation problems are piling in courts because people who are appointed and given that position to manage some of these issues are unable to do so because they do not acquire the necessary skills. So you can decide to go into either, upon your training as an ADR practitioner, you can decide to work in an organization as a human resource manager, a human resource personnel, or you can also be training other people who provide services to other organizations who may need them. And you see, your training also as an ADR practitioner, can also give you an opportunity to go into, to be a very good investigator. You can find a career path in investigation because of questioning techniques, listening techniques, and all of those things that you are going to learn in the course of your training as an ADR practitioner. You are going to be a good investigator. You'll be able to find out facts. You'll be able to identify issues. You'll be able to know when something happens, when it doesn't happen, by listening. These are qualities. They are qualities that you acquire. you can decide to also be a peace builder. You know, in a world that is full of crises, you know, is full of a lot of problems, conflicts, you know, we need a lot of peace builders. Peace builders are needed in our communities, in our markets, in our homes, in everywhere. So you see, you can decide to be a peace builder. That's also a career opportunity, a career path you can decide to tour, and you can go into I've explained conflict management. You know, it's one thing to manage conflict, it's one thing to resolve conflict. You know, when conflict occurs, you need people who can actually tame the thing before it gets out of hand. You know, when it gets out of hand, you can see a lot of crises, you see a lot of riots, people are killing each other, you know, but you need people who can assess the situation due to the skills they are going to acquire in ADR practice. They assess the skills, they assess the situation, they manage the conflict, they manage the problems. You know, you can decide to go into that. And you also have you can decide to become a facilitator. You know, people go into people facilitate trainings, you know, like this ADR training we're talking about. You know, you have organizations who offer training and certification in ADR, like Settlement House ADR Training Institute. We do training and certification in all the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that you can think of. You know, so you can decide to get yourself enlisted as a trainer and a facilitator with those organizations, you know, institutes who offer trainings. You can also be a trainer or a facilitator for human resource. All these things you see we listed here, you can, aside from the practice of them in the real sense of it, you can also train others. You know, they train and certify people as mediators, as conciliators, as arbitrators, as mediation advocates, and ombudsmen, and all of those things. You can decide to be a facilitator or a trainer. That's in addition to whatsoever you are doing. I hope we are together. Are we together?
Absolutely. Very well, Mr. Nanchang.
Okay, that's good. So you see, you have these are career opportunities in different ways, in different areas that you as a person can actually engage in. As a student, when you have a focus and you want to graduate and become an ADR practitioner, whether you are in your third year or fourth year, or, you know, your final year, or you have graduated, you know, you don't need anything. You just need to get trained and get certified as an ADR practitioner. And the good news is that you can practice ADR even while you are in school. This is not something that needs one kind of certification that requires you to finish maybe a university degree before you can dive into your career, you know, as an ADR practitioner. No, even as a student, you can handle disputes. You can serve as a mediator. You can be an arbitrator. You can be, you know, a mediation advocate. You can be a conflict manager, even in the school environment that you find yourself. Are we together? Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Please, can you indicate if you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. So now, by the time you get into this the fields, or you have decided from all that we have said, you want to carve a niche for you in alternative dispute resolution, you see, you need skills. You need to develop your skills. And those skills, you know, skills in conflict resolution, for example, is a vital thing that you need to acquire. So you can go for trainings that will help you develop your conflict resolution abilities. You can go for trainings that will help increase your communication skills, these are all the things that are going to be discussed, or, you know, during your training as an ADR practitioner. I use ADR because it covers all the aspects, all the mechanisms, instead of using a particular one. So you go for trainings that will also help you develop abilities and, abilities to show empathy. You also look at areas like emotional intelligence. You also look at areas of, you see how you can analyze conflicts, how to identify issues, problems, and all of those things, they are going to be taught. So you must make conscious and deliberate efforts to be able to see that you have developed yourself in that particular area. One thing I need to mention also is the fact that, you see, some of the disputes we have around us that we are saying that, oh, this dispute can be resolved through alternative dispute resolution. These disputes are not just coming from the sky. They are not jumping from the sky. They are actually stemming or coming from some of the areas of our practice. As lawyers, we have people who are practicing in diverse fields. You have medical law experts, you have property, you have estate, you have, different careers and opportunities. You have different areas of practice. And if you are a non-lawyer, you also have, let's say, for example, you are a construction engineer, or you are a civil engineer, or you are a pastor. Do you know that we have disputes that relates to your field? If you are an imam, you have dispute that relates to your field. Do Muslims and Muslims have conflict within themselves that they take themselves to court? Do Christians have disputes within them that they take themselves to court? Do we have construction related disputes? Do we have medical related disputes? Do you have, just think of it. Are you an estate agent? Are you an estate practitioner? Are you a quantity surveyor? Just think of every specialization that you can ever think of. Or possibly, I can give you an assignment. Go to your own area of specialization or the field that you practice. If you are a Christian or you are a Muslim or you are a specialist in a particular field, just check out areas, where you practice. Find out what are the possible disputes that can accrue or occur in my own specialization. So you see, if you are a construction engineer or you are a construction expert, aside from your knowledge and expertise which permits you to practice as a construction engineer, then you have what it takes to now practice as an ADR practitioner in that particular field. Now, in arbitration, for example, or in mediation, if you want to appoint a mediator or you want to appoint an arbitrator, it is expected that you appoint someone who has subject matter expertise. By subject matter expertise, I mean, for example, as a lawyer, there are some fields that I am not actually into. I don't practice those areas. Not as if I cannot practice those areas, but they are not my field or my area of expertise. So if I want to resolve a dispute that has to do with construction, for example, I don't have subject matter expertise in construction. And if I must resolve that matter through ADR, I must require the services of an expert who is a construction engineer, or he is also or a quantity surveyor, depending on the nature of the dispute. If it is a medical related dispute or a medical negligence, I am a lawyer, I may know about medical law, but then there are some aspects that I will not understand unless I need the services of someone who is in that field. So if you're already in that field as a medical practitioner, you have the certification in that area, you have the expertise in that area. How about you yourself becoming an ADR practitioner, so that we can now have people who can be appointed as to handle medical related disputes, and those people are actually medical practitioners or they are healthcare professionals in their own fields. So you see, whatsoever profession or field that you find yourself, you are actually relevant when it comes to ADR, and you can carve a niche for yourself. You are a professional in your own field, practicing your own field and area of specialization now, and you are now equipped with the skills and the ability to resolve disputes that relates to your own area of practice. How do you think about that? That's actually a wonderful opportunity. So instead of saying, oh, for example, if there is no job,
there is no employment in your own area. How about developing conflict resolution skills in that particular field? Pending when you are gainfully employed to serve in that area, where you have been trained and certified, you can develop these conflict resolution skills. And now, since you have a lot of practitioners, for example, those who are doctors or they are health professionals and they are practicing as health professionals. Now, imagine if you now go and concentrate your expertise in developing conflict and dispute resolution skills in medical related disputes or problems. So you see, those people, when they have issues, your colleagues, your friends, your seniors, your juniors, when they have issues, they actually have someone who they can call, they can relate. They say, oh, this is a medical doctor, he will actually understand our plights. When I explain and they blow some of this, their grammar, I will perfectly understand as a medical doctor while applying my conflict resolution skills to help them resolve the disputes. Now, by the time you go into it, you see, ADR has also have its own, aside from the fact that disputes and matters can be resolved so quickly, I prefer a situation where I can sit for 2 or 3 hours and resolve a dispute as quick as possible than to have pile up of cases and matters that will be lining up in court for over 5, 10, 15 years. Recently, one of our mentors, 2 of our mentors, they were involved in resolving a matter that has been lingering at the Court of Appeal, from the High Court to the Court of Appeal, for over 15 years. They resolved it in less than 3 hours. This is a matter that has been lingering for 15 years. I prefer to have the ability to resolve some of this conflict as quick as possible so that people can go in and continue their business and maintain their relationships, without going with some kind of grudges or some bias that, oh, this person must have been bribed, the judge is bribed, this and that, and then you keep appealing from one level of the court until you get to the Supreme Court. So you can see that is another opportunity. That is a field where you can earn. So if you decide to get enlisted in ADR organization that provide ADR services, mediation, arbitration, negotiation, for resolving a matter, you are going to be appointed and you will be paid. Some have their own scale of charges. I just gave an example of an arbitrator, in some of the international organizations. If you check CI app, Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, they have fees assigned to emergency arbitrators or cases, normal cases, and then you have to pay those fees first before commencement. So you see, you will be entitled to that, and then people can approach you. Oh, I have this problem, I have this dispute. Upon your training and certification as an ADR practitioner, when people come to you with a problem, you'll be able to identify the best way and mood to use in resolving their conflict or their dispute. You will be able to decide, you'll be able to determine. And if that is done, the more you help people resolve their disputes and they see the result, the more they come to you, the more they come to your office. Oh, I need someone who will be able to resolve my matter as quick as possible so that I can continue with my transaction or my business, than to go and stay in a courtroom for over years. Imagine if, for example, you borrowed money to do business, and then that money got hooked in a business and you need that money back, and then you went to the court. They give you a date for mention, they give you a date for filing of some processes. I know you keep lingering 2-3 years. Now look at the situation we are. After 2-3 years, even the money itself will lose its value. So I prefer to go for a situation where I can be able to resolve my dispute or my issues within the shortest time possible, and have the possibility of continuing my relationship with my brother or my sister or my business partner, than to go for something that I cannot be able to do. I will keep wasting my time and my resources and my energy, and at the end of it, I may end up becoming like an enemy to my brother or my colleague or my husband and the rest of it. Now, you see, finally, you look at Some of the valuable skills that someone will need to acquire, I've mentioned them, but then the global market for ADR services is expected to continue growing, and demand for more efficient, cost-effective, and accessible way to resolve disputes also increases. So with that, it means that we need more people who are going to be trained and certified, more people who will acquire the dispute and conflict resolution skills so that they can be of service to their own wherever they find themselves, be it in school or at home or in anywhere they find themselves. So the global market was estimated to be worth several billions of dollars with projections of steady growth in coming years. So we are actually advocating that some of us who had the opportunity to undergo this training will begin to think of areas. What are my area of specialization? Now that I'm in school, when I'm studying and I decide to also have it in mind that I want to become an ADR practitioner, when you carry these two, you look at them from these two perspectives and then you move along with it. By the time you graduate as as a lawyer or in whatsoever profession you find yourself, and then you have already acquired your conflict resolution skills, then you see that you are now fully set for your practice. And you can see that your earnings are going to increase, no doubt about it. And people with the satisfaction they find in the services you render, they will be more than willing and ready to visit you. Contrary to some of the opinions that, by the time you teach people how to resolve their dispute out of court, how are you going to earn? How are you going to get money and all of those things? I have the contrary opinion that people will visit you more because people in this 21st century are looking for results. They are not looking for delay tactics. They are not looking for things that will keep them where they are for several years. They are looking for results. So thank you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nanchang. Thank you so much for these deep insights. What I can see, what I know for sure is that there is an urgency. There is indeed an urgency. And the earlier we begin to see this, the better we are properly positioned to take advantage of what we have at hand. In Nigeria, for instance, the Supreme Court recently declared that the courts are overburdened. This was just in December 2022, just very recently. So you see that even if you see that the apex court too is also screaming. It's just that there's no other way they can put it. They can just express themselves through some of these media channels. But what it's saying in essence is that we need more ADR practitioners. And the other interesting thing that I see there is also the fact that ADR is borderless. So it doesn't matter whether you are trained in Kenya, in Nigeria, or anywhere. It's just like a hands-on skill. Anywhere you go, it goes with you, and you can be able to make money from it anywhere, anytime. Thank you so much for that amazing insight, Mr. Nanchang. Thank you. We have some questions in the comment section from Jamila. She says she's delighted to be part of this meeting, that she is an associate with Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators, the Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators. She's also a Chartered ADR Secretary and Registrar. Her question is, where and how does she start her practice? Mr. Victor, you'd like to answer Madam Jamila on that one?
Thank you so much.
How and where she can start.
Thank you so much for that. Nanchang, thank you so much for your very compelling presentation. It's always an honor to get to listen to you. Before I get to that question, I don't want to quash your expectations, Mamosiri. At some point, you asked me a question about if I'm a student, or if we have a student here, what approach of ADR should they go for? And my question, and my simple answer to that would be, you should go for all of them. You should go for all of them. And my majorly arbitration and mediation, there's something that Nachang said. I don't know whether we heard what he said. He spoke about hybrid processes. And right now, I can guarantee you that most corporates are looking for individuals who are both mediators and arbitrators. And the idea for that is simple. Why should I hire a mediator and later on come to hire an arbitrator while I have the opportunity to kill two birds with a single stone? So that's one thing that I want to stress on. If you are a mediator and an arbitrator, you have a cutting edge over the traditional mediator and arbitrator. That's very important. Right now, there's a shift within the ADR practice towards hybrid processes. And the idea essentially is become an expert in mediation and go for an arbitration course and become an expert arbitrator as well. If you're an arbitrator who is an expert, I'd advise you to go for mediation as well. We are talking about the future here. That's what the future looks like. Now, back to a question here. My question is, where and how do I start my practice? I'm going to walk back to how I started my practice. I started my practice as a pro bono mediator. Now, I've been told that you have Federation of Women Lawyers in Nigeria. The Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya has a flagship program on ADR. And the idea is to inculcate the practice of mediation as well as mentor the next generation of mediation. So pro bono is one way to go for it. You can call Mr. Nanchang and tell him, look, when are you mediating? I'd like to come in as a shadow mediator. And by a shadow mediator, I mean you are an observant. Your role is to pair up with him and get to see how he handles his disputes. And who knows, 5 weeks down the line, he might tell you that I would like to co-mediate with you. And I'd like to speak to the established mediators here that we have a responsibility to see to it that the next generation of mediators are well established. So that's one way of you to do it. Pro bono is number one. Number two, you can shadow mediators. Look for well-established mediators within your jurisdiction and pair up with them. Ask them, look, can I shadow you? When are you going to have your next mediation? Or when are you having your next arbitration? So that I can just come in as a student or an intern of you. And then number three, I would advise, if you have corporates in Nigeria that offer ADR services, I know Settlement House does that. It has different mediators. You can sign up with them and they can help you. So these are three strategies that you can use to get started. And the thing is that when you're starting, things might look very difficult. But as you go along, things begin to become easy. So that would be my advice, my 2 cents to that question.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor. Thank you very much. And the other question is, she says she's an executive. Favor says she's an executive assistant to a CEO of a company. How do I apply ADR and what course can one actually do to boost in the EA of a company? Mr. Nanchang, you want to take that question? She says she's an assistant to a CEO. And she's wondering how she can apply, what course she can actually do to boost her profile in the company or something.
Okay, if I get the question right, she is asking as an assistant to a CEO.
Yes.
How can she boost?
She's asking how she can apply ADR and what course she can actually do, probably to boost her profile in the company or something.
Okay. So now, first, I don't know where she's joining from, but you see, in Settlement House, for example, we do trainings and certifications. This settlement hour is one of our continuous professional development for members of Settlement House and the society as a whole. And we have a training that is coming up in March, for example. That's a training and certification in mediation. Someone, she can decide to sign up for training like that. And then if she's not somewhere close where she can participate physically, she can also sign up for our online dispute resolution certification training, which we can take note of that and then communicate her when that is coming up. And then she can visit our website and see some of the various courses and trainings that we do, and then maybe see the one that she may be interested in. And on how she can apply her dispute resolution skills in our organization, I think that's a simple thing. You know, as an assistant to the CEO, you know, of a company, you have people who come in filing their own issues, their problems, their, you know, a lot of things, you know, they bring it before the CEO. And then as an assistant, most times you will be assigned the responsibility to possibly look at the file, check what's the problem, you know. Sometimes it may just be a problem of maltreatment, you know, or, you know, workplace issues and matters, you know. With these ADR skills, which she has developed, one, conflict resolution skills, you are going to be taught during the training, conflict analysis, how to analyze conflict to see that, okay, what is actually the problem, what is actually the issue, what is actually the root that is sustaining the problem. You know, she can actually, with that knowledge, and then communication skills. Sometimes some of the complaints you'll be receiving is not because of one serious issue per se, but that the way and manner someone is being treated. Imagine you come to an organization and then you want to do, maybe buy a product or do something in an organization, and then the guardman or then the secretary, you know, just talk to you anyhow. Please, madam, sit down. You are disturbing people. You know, with that kind of communication, someone can become upset and he feels that, oh, this is not the only place where I can get these services rendered. Let me go to another place. And another person will feel, no, you looked at me as someone who is not worth it, someone who is this and that. You know, all these things will be coming to the table of the CEO. So the skills that you have acquired as an ADR practitioner has become relevant. You will see issues that you need to give adequate and proper and prompt attention to. You will see issues that, okay, this one can linger a bit. You will see issues that, oh, this person actually needs an apology. You know, you see issues like, you know, you will be able to identify based on your training. So that is a way to actually apply. Sometimes your boss will say, oh, look at this situation. What do we do about it? Instead of saying, oh, let us contact the lawyers, let them write them and all of those things, you can say, oh, why can't we invite these people? Let's have a chat. Let's actually know what their interest is. These are some of the things you learn during the course of some of the trainings that we do. What are their interests? Somebody will just want you to apologize, and that solves the issue. And because of that lack of apology, he's ready and willing to take up the matter, even if it is to the Supreme Court. I don't know if that helps in any way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Nanchan. Then let me see if there's another question. No, there's no other question in the comment section. So, Mr. Victor, you want to share with us some of the important pros and cons of ADR, given your experience and exposure to the process so far, so that we can get all the knowledge that we need to be able to launch into ADR, as it were.
Thank you so much for that fantastic question. I think ADR is still a developing practice, particularly within the African jurisdiction. Maybe ADR is still at a very rudimentary level, and that comes with its own challenges. Some of the challenges are, as you start your practice, it might not be as rewarding from a material standpoint, but I can rest you assured that there is no greater feeling than seeing two individuals who walked into the room grumbling, and all that kind of things, walking out of the room, having a handshake and smiling at each other. That can be very rewarding. Then the other thing is the practice within our jurisdictions. I'll speak about the African market. The market is still not defined. So that's one thing that we really need to work on. The ADR market is not pretty defined. And there are lots of challenges and opportunities in that. I'm one person who tries to see the silver lining in every challenge. And so with the African market being undefined, it means that we have opportunities to define the African market for mediation. And then number three, the other thing that I'd like to maybe draw attention to insofar as challenges and opportunities would be the fact that in our practice, there's still challenges to do with legal regulation. And that's a big problem. However, I'm beginning to see countries like Kenya. Kenya has, it's still trying to put in place a mediation kind of a bill so that the market can be regulated to an extent. But that has yet to materialize. And that's a challenge that I see in Kenya. The opportunity that is tied to that, of course, is with the Singapore Convention. Kenya, like many other African countries, are signatories to that convention. And the thing about that convention is that it seeks to regulate mediation at some point. So these are some of the opportunities that we can see within the ADR market. And maybe just before I probably go, I just want to address developing practices that I think it's important for us to know. And I stressed on, oh God.
Okay, sorry. Miriam, are you there?
Yes.
We have a lot of questions that we are sending during the by participants who register. So let's see if you can attempt some of them before our time runs out. Some were sent here, is on the chat, and some to your WhatsApp, I think. The same thing, so check it, and then before, I believe we lost Victor, maybe before he comes on, take a look at that.
Okay, well, one of the very obvious questions there is number 7, which is how can students get opportunities beyond the country's borders to, just a moment, to experience the ADR mechanisms. Is looking for opportunities beyond the country's borders to experience ADR mechanisms. I think you're talking about getting, like practicing ADR outside his own country of residence or something. So if you can take that question, Mr. Nanchang, otherwise we'll go to the next one.
Okay, if I get him right, he's looking for, he's asking of what opportunities he can use to practice some of the ADR mechanism beyond the borders of where he is.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, you see, the good thing is that we're in a digital environment. You see, Settlement House ADR Training Institute is here in Nigeria. But you see, we are doing a training on a seminar that involves people all over the world, and people in Kenya are majorly the participants because it's mainly for some of them students. So also, there are a lot of opportunities that are there available for you to see. There are mentorship opportunities for someone who wants to develop his practice in ADR. You know, as a person, you may need to go, after your training, you may need to gather a little experience in the practice of ADR. And as such, I will advise that you get ADR organizations who are into the practice and mentorship of younger generation or younger lawyers or younger ADR practitioners so that they will be able to mentor you in the area in which you are interested. You see, one thing about ADR is that it is private and confidential. And some of the procedures, whether arbitration or mediation, they are not actually open to the public. You know, before you bring in someone, you need the permission of the parties involved. So the parties must give you permission before you can bring someone to come and watch the proceedings. Because of that, we have a lot of programs, mentorship programs that gives you opportunity, like competitions, international competitions. Nigeria also have competitions, that they organize to be able to promote the concept and idea and the practice of alternative dispute resolution. So you can look out for those opportunities. They are on net. If you are on some of these social media platforms, you can check out mediation related activities, mediation mentorship, ADR mentorship. You can check out for ADR competitions. You check it. If you're on LinkedIn, check it. That is one of the official platforms where I expect that people or participants in this platform should be able to key into. If you don't have an account, open an account there. You meet professionals in your own field, and then you meet organizations like Settlement House, ADR Training Institute, SHATI. They have programs they promote and they send out there for people to see. So when you see opportunity like that, you can apply. When you apply and then they give you the opportunity, you will see that you will learn the practical aspects. If it is competition, you get involved in the preparation, you get involved in the mediation or arbitration process. And at the end of it, you see that thing that you cannot see, just like in the courtroom where you just walk in there, that thing that is done in private, you will see opportunities. Like we did a training, a practical training on mediation, I think some days back. It's a scenario that was put in there. You have the mediator, you have the arbitrator, and you have the parties. It's a scenario that people took advantage of it. We sent it all around. It was on social media, and people joined and participated. They saw how mediation is being conducted practically. With the mediator and the parties involved, and how resolutions are being met, how caucusing is being met. So that is an opportunity I think you can look out for. This can be beyond the borders of wherever he is. He can have these opportunities all over the world. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the questions we have in the comment section is, how effective is ADR in Kenya? Mr. Victor, you want to take that?
Great.
Thank you for that. That's a good question. I've actually done a presentation on that question in California at the UC Hastings University. And the thing about the efficacy and effectiveness of a mediation in Kenya is that right now we have a 66% of individuals saying that the process is satisfactory. I think that's the best indicator to use to measure the effectiveness of some of these processes. Satisfactory. Are clients coming out and saying that, thumbs up, I give this process a thumbs up. And it turns out that in Kenya, 66%, clients are saying, or consumers of justice are saying that it's effective. And the fact that the judiciary has decided to roll out mediation across the country, that speaks to the fact that it's proving, it's bearing results. That would be my answer to that question.
Awesome. 66%. That's a lot, sir. That's really high.
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe just to speak one thing, if you look at how mediation started off in Kenya, it was limited to a particular set of disputes, family disputes, commercial disputes, but we are seeing across over to public issues like land and environment issues. that tells us that mediation is working. It's
Right.
worked for disputes to do with family issues, commercial, and they have seen it work, and therefore there's an urge to try to other jurisdictions as well. So I'm seeing I'm seeing land matters being officiated by a mediator. To me, that's a huge success, because when I started off, at least, it was just family issues, divorce, and things to do with that. But right now we are seeing the banking association adopting and endorsing mediation. At some point within maybe April, there's going to be a bankers association meeting on mediation. To me, that tells me that we have lots of opportunities. And so, Jamila, you should do your mediation course. Thank you.
Indeed. Okay, someone is asking if he can fully venture into ADR, into being an ADR practitioner and forgo litigation. Mr. Nanchang, over to you now.
Whether you can forgo litigation?
Yes.
Okay, I feel that there's no need for him to forgo litigation, but he can actually combine litigation with ADR practice. The reason is that ADR actually beautifies your practice and make it more sensible. Because you see, we have matters that you have to go to court with. No matter how your zealousness or your willingness to resolve them, there are matters you have to go to court with, especially matters that are like time-bound, matters that you have to institute a matter first, before doing any other thing. But if you are practicing as a lawyer, you can decide to open a firm that is into ADR practice solely. I have a mentor whose practice is mainly mediation and mediation advocacy. And as a lawyer, he decided to abandon litigation. You can do that if you have the courage, but in my own candid opinion, I don't think it is necessary for you to abandon litigation, because one way or the other, you stumble into it. But when people come with you with a dispute, you'll be able to identify and analyze which matters do I need to take to court while we explore the avenue to resolve the matter, and which matter can I actually resolve right away. That all depends on what you want to do. So please, I will advise that you combine them, but where you have the confidence that, okay, you don't want litigation at all, as some people will say, they don't want anything that will give them troubles. So you can actually go into ADR practice exclusively, but your knowledge of the law will give you a better edge over someone who does not have the idea of law at all.
Right, sir. Thank you very much. Just to add that, I listened to I attended one of these sessions where a senior advocate was discussing this topic on ADR, and his recommendation is in line with what Mr. Nanchang is saying, which is to the effect that it is sometimes it's in the line of litigation that you get some of these cases that now require mediation or arbitration. So it would take someone who has already established himself 101%, as it were, to say he's going to forego litigation before, specifically for mediation or arbitration. So it's more like starting from the known to the unknown. So I'll say that you hold on to your litigation and then combine it with mediation and arbitration, as the case may be.
Okay, just to add
Yes.
briefly, you see, lawyers are actually like the gatekeepers when it comes to dispute resolution. So when someone has a problem, he does not look for a mediator, because sometimes they don't even know what a mediator or arbitrator is, but they come to a lawyer. So, but as a lawyer, you now know that there are different ways and means to resolve disputes. Like, for example, in Nigeria, under the rules of professional conduct, section 15 sub 3D thereabout, it provides that a lawyer here in Nigeria must advise his clients on the opportunities of and options of using alternative dispute resolution. It's a professional responsibility. And because of your position, you know that this matter can be resolved through ADR, and this is the mechanism that will best suit it. And there are some disputes that actually carry dispute resolution clauses that specify that they have to go for negotiation first, and when negotiation fails, they will go for mediation, and when mediation fails, they will go for arbitration. So you need to know as a lawyer that that is what opens up opportunities for you. Thank you.
Right, right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nanchang. So this other question is, how can we settle disputes while being discriminated because of our age? Mr. Victor, you wanna say something on that?
That's a good question. And why I'm asking is because about 2 years ago, I asked the same question. And the expert, yes, and the expert in the room, Bruce Edwards of Bruce Edwards Academy, told me that, you know, what you can do is pair up with an older mediator.
Interesting.
Yes. What you can do is just couple with a mediator who is older than you. And that's a genuine concern. You know, I've done mediations where you are the youngest in the room compared to the disputants. And obviously they will question your competency. And if you're not careful enough, you will lose your authority in the room. So what you need to do is, in scenarios where it's extremely complicated, you might need to look for an expert mediator who is older
Mr. Victor?
than you. Yes?
Okay, we can't hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I can hear Mr. Victor from my end.
Am I audible?
Yes, very audible.
Okay,
From my
yes.
end.
So those are the two
Yes, very
options.
audible from my end also.
Okay, sorry, sir. It seems that we're not hearing you at the point. We lost you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So there are two options here. One, you can couple with a mediator who is much older than you. And then number two, you can get your act together, put yourself together, because you have what it takes. It's competency. It comes down to competence and expertise. And having been trained with competent mediators like Settlement House, you've got what it takes. So you shouldn't worry. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Victor. This question now will be to you, Mr. Nanchang. He or she is asking, by this training, sir, do I become an ADR practitioner? I think that will be our last question for the day. He's asking if this training qualifies him to be an ADR practitioner.
Well, no, this training just sensitize you to see that there is a future in alternative dispute resolution, either as a mediator or arbitrator or negotiator or dispute resolution specialist or a conflict manager or mediation advocate. There is a career, you can choose a career path in addition to whatsoever profession you find yourself. That's the aim and essence of this seminar. This is a seminar. It is a continuous professional development for members of Settlement House Training Institute, SHATI, in addition to members of the public. It helps them to see that you can do something. You can help resolve conflicts. And then you see, since conflict is inevitable in our society, anyone who is into the business of resolving conflict becomes relevant and useful to the society. Just like any person who is into the business of possibly selling pure water or some of these essential things we need in life can never go out of business, so also an ADR practitioner provides solutions to people's problems. As one scholar will say, life is simply a journey of problem solving. So this does not make you an ADR practitioner, but rather it helps you see that you can become an ADR practitioner. You have to enroll. We've mentioned some of the skills you need. Some of the skills are packed in the trainings we offer. You will learn how to resolve conflict resolution, dispute resolution skills.
You need to also learn how to analyze conflicts. You need to also know about personality types, so that you see different kinds of people with different mindset, different upbringing comes to you, to help them resolve their disputes. So you will be able to identify that. Then you need emotional intelligence. You also helps you in resolving disputes. You also need communication skills. These are some of the things that are packed in the ADR training. You understand things like forgiveness, apology, which is going to be one of the next settlement hour is going to be, we're going to be considering a topic like that: acceptance, apology, and forgiveness. These are components of some of the things you are going to learn in the fully packed training. So for some of you who want to develop a career in ADR, you can put yourself together. If you are from Kenya, for example, and you are a student, Settlement House can organize a training at subsidized rate for you, especially if you are a student. And then if you are someone who wants to go into the main certification training as a non-student, we also have avenues. But these are some of the skills that you must acquire to be able to say, yes, you are an ADR practitioner. But mind you, some of us are actually born with the ability to help people resolve conflicts. We are peacemakers. What we do is to enhance those your abilities and your capabilities so that when you come to a formal environment or a setting, you can tell yourself that, yes, I am an ADR practitioner, I am a mediator, I am an arbitrator, and I can handle this kind of disputes. I don't know if I've attempted the questions.
Right. Talking about the trainings, you want to give us some of the modalities for this this training coming up, the cost, the date and time, the mediation training that is coming up. You want to give us more details on it for people that want to enroll after this webinar?
Okay. Well, the training that we have, if you are in the city of Kaduna State in Nigeria, we have the training is coming up on the 8th to 10th of March. And as to the fee, we have a discounted amount of 120,000 Naira in Nigerian currency. But for those who are interested in partaking in the online certification training, for example, if you are not going to be present physically and you want to partake in the training virtually, why not? You can reach out to us. Maybe you can put in our email address. Put in our email address, put in the website is there, and then some phone numbers, that you can reach out to, and then for those who are on our group, Settlement Hour group, or some of our other groups, you will see updates. So you can send out messages to find out about any other training that you may want to partake in, and then make necessary arrangement for you to partake in virtual trainings if you are far away, especially for those that are in Kenya. And I also encourage you to key into some of the Settlement Hour. You can check us on our social media handles. We are on Telegram, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, and then our websites are there. You can also reach out to us from our website through our, you can reach out to us on WhatsApp through our website. If you have inquiries, you have questions, even through the website, you can send in the questions. They are going to be attended to, and then we are very much willing to answer some of your questions. But please key into some of the Settlement Hour that is going to be going on from time to time, either weekly or monthly. You are going to get yourself equipped. This training is for free for everyone. But if you need maybe certificate of participation and the rest of them, you have to pay for that. But then access to this training is free. So anytime there is training, we advise that when you get the information, you get the flyer, share it across. Let people get to know. They can join in, they can participate, they can ask questions, and it will be clarified. If this were to be a paid training, for example, you will spend a lot of money doing it. but now a lot of questions have been clarified. At least I believe that some of us are going back with value, that we have actually attended something that added value to ourselves. So please feel free to reach out, and then I think check the chat box. You get our email, phone numbers that you can reach us on this. So I don't know if maybe you give opportunity for people who may want to say something before.
Okay. Well, if you want to say something quickly before our time goes off at 2 p.m. Nigerian time, so you can just drop your comments in the comment section.
Kenyan time.
And 4 p.m. Kenyan time, yes. But in the interim, in case you joined us halfway, this is Settlement Hour Kenya, brought to you by Settlement House ADR Training Institute, SHATI, which is aimed at training, coaching, and certifying people and organizations in the practice and consultancy of ADR. We have our contacts on the chat box. And I think with that, this is a good place to bring this conversation to a close. While we're still on, if you have questions, you have comments, you can drop it in the comment section. But before then, we'd like to say a big thank you to all the participants, our audience, students, professionals alike, for joining this call. Also, we've been having this conversation with Mr. Victor Baba and Mr. Nanchang Nangwang. We read their profiles earlier. So at this juncture,
sorry, we are not hearing you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Mariam?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So we would like to say a huge thank you to our speakers for leading this all-important conversation on the careers in ADR. Thank you, Mr. Baba, Victor, for always availing yourselves. I beg your pardon. We are more than grateful, to say the least. And to our executive director, Mr. Nanchang, we can't thank you enough for initiating this conversation. Thank you for creating a platform such as this. Thank you so much. Before we round off, Mr. Victor Baba says that participants, let's watch out for opportunities, ombudsperson, project disputes, specialists, dispute systems designer.
Mariam, maybe let Victor speak up and explain, and then give us a little, maybe a vote of thanks on behalf of the Kenyans, and they can say what you want to do. For
absolutely, Mr. Victor, over to you, please. Yes, your final words and vote of thanks.
Thank you to all participants who showed up today. It's always good to have an opportunity to speak to the next set of mediators. Now, I want to speak to you about the future. The future is mediation. The future is ADR. We have lots of opportunities around the institution of ombudsperson. Right now, as I speak to you, there's a post for an ombudsperson with the World Food Federation in West Africa. And I think it's important for us to open our eyes to some of these opportunities. But before, of course, you can be an ombudsperson, you need to be a mediator. And then we have opportunities around project dispute specialists. The world is waking up to the reality that it's expensive to manage and resolve disputes, and therefore there is need to prevent disputes before they arise. So there are lots of opportunities around project dispute specialists, and then we have dispute system designers. So many corporates are waking up to the reality that prevention is the way to go. All of a sudden, we are beginning to come to terms with the idea that prevention is better than cure. And therefore, there are lots of opportunities around conflict prevention. And then last but not least, we have the whole concept of a multi-door court house evaluators. Our courtrooms are coming to the reality that the court should be an open forum where disputants have access to a wide array of option, not just litigation, but courts are beginning to realize that there's need for arbitration, there's need for mediation, there's need for negotiation, and so on and so to speak. But all these opportunities, for you to take advantage of all these opportunities, at some point, you need to be a mediator or an arbitrator. And therefore, you need to sign up for these courses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Victor.
Okay.
Your final words, Mr. Nachan.
Yeah, before I say my final words, I cannot but give this opportunity to one very important person, Miss Esther Odipo, the first female president of the Faculty of Law, University of Nairobi, Kenya. If she's with us, please, can you greet us, give us a vote of thanks, and say one or two things before I close up the occasion? Madam President, is she with us?
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Madam President.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes. My apologies. My network was fluctuating. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity that you have accorded the students from the University of Nairobi. And these opportunities open up so many doors that we do not know. And for that, I'm really grateful. And I'm hoping we'll interact more. We'll have more webinars so that we open up our wings and not focus only on litigation. So we should delve into other matters because we are well equipped and we know what we can do beyond litigation and running to courts. So for that, on behalf of the University of Nairobi, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity and we're looking forward to more and many more opportunities and webinars. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, for making this time and moment and conversation visible. Thank you for reaching out to some of the students. I will use this opportunity to apologize and sympathize and condole with you on behalf of Settlement House for the loss of one of the students, which actually took some of your time in the course of preparation for this meeting. We are very, very sorry. We accept our condolence on behalf of Settlement House. With this, I want to say thank you to all the participants. I'm very happy and excited to have all of you stay here with us from the beginning till the end of this conversation. We have lots more packed. In fact, our next session, some of our session, I think the next section will be on acceptance, apology, and forgiveness. That's one critical aspect of ADR, especially mediation, that we're going to be exploring in our next settlement hour. So watch out for settlement hour that is coming up, and please don't miss out. And you can visit our website to know more about our organization and some of the programs we run. Feel free to reach out to us anytime when you need us to do something, especially when it relates to ADR. We're also open to collaboration and trainings and certification for students at very discounted rates because we want to see how we can encourage the younger ones to embrace mediation, arbitration, ADR particularly, in addition to their practice as lawyers or law students, especially for the fact that, you can actually practice as an ADR practitioner even before you graduate from school, so you can get certified and begin to develop your career in that. And to our listeners all over the world, in Nigeria, Kenya, and other places, thank you for tuning in. You can check out our YouTube channel for some of our insightful discussions of this nature. And you can reach out to us when you need customized training for organizations, for your associations, for anywhere or all over the world. Thank you very much. So Miriam.
Yes, please. I was going to say that this is a good place to take a screenshot. We don't want to miss any of these memories.
Oh, okay. That's good. Please put on your camera if you can, and let's take a snapshot. Put on your cameras.
Oh, we can also capture with just names, but we'd definitely love to see your faces.
Okay. Yes, we're about to take. Please put on your camera. Are we? Okay. Is anybody? Okay, that's good. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we are good to go, right? So any final words for us, Madam Moderator?
It's actually been a pleasure moderating this session, and I definitely look forward to more of times like this for us to, advance this course. There's no better time. I mean, the best time was yesterday. The next best time is now that we're having it. The world itself is overburdened, and we need to step in. We need to step up our games to meet the challenges ahead of us. So thank you so much. It's been my privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much for tuning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Victor, for tuning in. Thank you. I can see Mr. Abubakar. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you. I can see.
Thank you, Mr. Victor.
Yeah.
Yes, let's hear your voices. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Oh, I can see people. Thank you. Also, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So are we taking the screenshot?
Thank you. Samira, thank you for joining in. We are grateful. Great.